You're welcome to Nkumat Online Academy. In today's lesson, we want to look at environmental hazards. Environmental hazards. Now, for you to understand this topic or the term environmental hazards, you first of all have to understand the meaning of hazards. So, what is the meaning of hazards or hazard? A hazard is anything or any agent that has the potential to harm human being, organism, or our environment if it is not controlled. Anything that can harm human being, other organisms, maybe plants or animals, or our environment, if that thing is not controlled, it is called a hazard. Now it means that a hazard can be chemicals. If you pour chemicals or you keep chemicals in the environment and it has potential of harming human beings where you keep it, then it is a hazard. If you keep an instrument, a mechanical object in an environment and it has a potential of harming human beings or other organisms or damaging the environment or damaging the surface of the earth, then it is a hazard. So many things can be hazard depending on the way we keep them or the way we use them. Now, environmental hazards. Environmental hazards is the ones that are potentially dangerous to the environment. The ones or anything that can harm the environment. We say that a hazard is anything that can harm human being, organisms, or the environment. That is hazard in general. So we have hazard that can harm human being, we have hazard that can harm the environment, we have hazards that can harm other organisms. We have a hazard that can harm all of them together. Then the ones that can harm environment in particular, they are the ones we call environmental hazards. So in definition, we can say that environmental hazards are hazards or agents. Environmental hazards are agents. You should take note of this. Agents that can harm or threaten the natural environment. Environmental hazards are agents that can harm or threaten the natural environment. They can be chemicals, they can be mechanical objects, they can be biological objects. So, environmental hazards can be chemicals or chemical substances. They can be chemicals. They can be biological substances or biological objects. And they can be mechanical objects. Mechanical objects, things that are moving or things we can actually, yes, things that are movable that we can touch, like ions, like woods and others. mechanical objects, cars, bicycles, and other things that have the potential to move. So these are different things that can contribute to environmental hazards. Now, environmental hazards is of different types. We have different types of environmental hazards. The things that can lead to environmental hazards are, or types of environmental hazards. One is erosion. Erosion can damage the environment and contribute to environmental hazards. We say that anything that can damage or harm or threaten the environment is called an environmental hazard. Anything that can damage, harm, or threaten the environment is called an environmental hazard. Example, or one type of it is erosion. Another thing that can threaten or harm or damage the environment is flooding. Another thing is deforestation. Then another thing is bush burning. And another one is desertification. We are going to discuss all these terms, all these types of environmental hazards, one after the other. We are going to discuss erosion, we discuss flooding, we discuss deforestation, we discuss bush burning, and we discuss desertification. Now let's start with erosion. Let me introduce you to erosion, and in our next lesson, we continue with it. Erosion simply means washing away of the Earth's surface. That is erosion. Washing away of the Earth's surface, that is the topsoils, is what we call erosion. Then we have flooding, and flooding is when part of the soil or land is submerged underwater. That is when water covers part of the soil or land. We call it flooding. I'm introducing the terms or different types of environmental hazards. Then deforestation means cutting down of large quantity of trees by man. When we reduce the quantity of trees we have in the environment, maybe in a forest, you cut down large quantity of trees, then we call it deforestation. Cutting down of large quantity of trees is called deforestation. Then bush burning, on the other hand, bush burning, of course, is just setting a vegetation or a forest on fire. We call it bush burning. This normally occurs during Harmattan when some people will set some bush on fire, maybe because they are hunting for animals or for other reasons. Then desertification is when the land is made very dry and it begins to lose its vegetation. You know that plants, they need water to survive or to grow. So when the land is made very, very dry and plants or crops cannot grow very well in the land again, we call it desertification. So these are introduction to the types of environmental hazards that we have. In our next lesson, we are going to be taking each of them one after the other and we discuss them in details. So our next lesson is going to be on erosion and we're going to discuss it in detail. Now your assignment. Your assignment is you make a note on this. You make a note on these things I've just said. Let me see if really understood this or the terms that I mentioned. Make a note on the topic environmental hazards. Then in your notes, you define the following terms. 1. In your note, I want to see the definition of the following hazards. 2. Environmental hazards. 3. You state the 5 types of environmental hazards and define each of them. Okay, so this is what you have. So you write the assignment and submit. When you come to the classroom, if you want to submit, when you open your classroom, you will see share. You will see share to this class. Type everything you have inside the share and then you click share or send to share it in the classroom. Then I'll be able to see it. Thank you.